There is a strange misunderstanding that has infected the modern world. People have begun to believe that the loudest voice is the wisest voice, that the person who speaks the most must surely know the most. Noise has become a symbol of importance. Constant opinions are mistaken for intelligence. Endless conversations are mistaken for depth. Yet if we look carefully at history, at human nature, and at the minds that have shaped civilization, we discover a different truth. The deepest rivers flow quietly. The highest mountains announce nothing about their height. The most powerful forces in existence move without asking for attention. Intelligence often follows the same law. An intelligent person gradually discovers that silence is not emptiness. Silence is power. Silence is observation. Silence is understanding. Silence is the space in which truth reveals itself. Most people speak because they are uncomfortable with silence. They fear what silence might show them. In a silent room, a person must confront himself. He must face his own thoughts, insecurities, contradictions, and fears. This is why many rush toward endless conversation, endless entertainment, endless distraction. Noise becomes a refuge from self-examination. The intelligent person reacts differently. He does not run from silence. He enters it willingly. He understands that every great discovery begins in stillness. Before an architect creates a masterpiece, there is silence. Before a scientist uncovers a new truth, there is silence. Before a philosopher shapes an era, there is silence. Thought itself requires distance from noise. The crowd is often obsessed with speaking. The intelligent individual is obsessed with understanding. These are not the same thing. Speaking is easy. Understanding is difficult. A person can talk for hours and reveal nothing. Another can remain silent and learn everything. Observe a room full of people. Most are waiting for their turn to speak. Few are truly listening. They hear words, but not meanings. They hear sounds, but not intentions. The intelligent person recognizes this weakness in human nature. Therefore, he listens more than he speaks. Listening grants access to realities that talking conceals. When people speak freely, they reveal their ambitions, fears, desires, weaknesses, and motives. They unknowingly expose their inner world. The silent observer gathers this information effortlessly. While others compete for attention, he acquires understanding. This is one reason intelligent people often appear mysterious. They reveal less than they know. They understand that information is a form of power. Once words leave the mouth, they can never be reclaimed. Every unnecessary sentence reduces one's control. Every careless confession becomes a tool that others may eventually use. The wise person, therefore, develops discipline over speech. He asks a simple question before speaking: is this necessary? Most conversations fail this test. People discuss rumors that will be forgotten tomorrow. They argue over opinions that change every month. They seek validation from strangers whose approval carries no real value. They fill hours with words that leave no lasting impact. The intelligent person sees the tragedy in this. Human life is short. Time is precious. Why waste either on meaningless noise? Silence becomes a form of resistance against a world addicted to distraction. There is another reason intelligent people prefer silence. They understand how little they truly know. Ignorance speaks with certainty. Wisdom speaks with caution. The less a person understands reality, the more confident he often becomes. He forms quick conclusions, simple judgments, and absolute opinions. Complexity irritates him because complexity threatens certainty. But intelligence reveals complexity everywhere. The more deeply one studies life, the more mysterious life becomes. Every answer creates new questions. Every discovery uncovers new uncertainty. The intelligent mind recognizes layers where others see surfaces. Because of this awareness, intelligent people become careful with their words. They know that reality rarely fits into simple slogans. They know that truth often contains contradictions. They know that certainty is frequently the mask of ignorance. Their silence is not weakness. It is intellectual humility. A fool speaks because he believes he has all the answers. A wise person remains silent because he understands how vast the unknown truly is. Silence also protects thought itself. Ideas are delicate things. They require time to mature. When exposed too early, they are often damaged by criticism, misunderstanding, or mockery. Most people share every thought the moment it appears. As a result, their minds never develop depth. Their ideas remain shallow because they never spend enough time examining them. The intelligent individual behaves differently. He allows thoughts to grow in private. He questions them. He challenges them. He tests them against reality. He refines them through reflection. Silence becomes the workshop of intelligence. In that workshop, weak ideas are destroyed and strong ideas are strengthened. Without silence, there can be no profound thinking. Modern society rarely understands this. We live in an age that rewards immediate reactions. Everyone is expected to have an opinion instantly. Reflection is treated as hesitation. Thoughtfulness is mistaken for weakness. Yet some questions deserve days, months, even years of contemplation. The intelligent person refuses to surrender his mind to the demands of urgency. He values truth more than speed. Therefore, he chooses silence until understanding emerges. There is also a psychological strength hidden within silence. Many people speak in order to prove their worth. They constantly seek recognition. They crave validation from others. Their words become requests for approval. The intelligent person gradually frees himself from this dependence. He does not need every room to notice him. He does not need every conversation to revolve around him. He does not need applause to confirm his value. His confidence comes from within. Because of this inner security, silence becomes comfortable. He can sit quietly without feeling invisible. He can observe without demanding attention. He can remain unnoticed without feeling diminished. This independence is rare. Most people fear being ignored more than being wrong. The intelligent person fears being wrong more than being ignored. That difference changes everything. Silence also sharpens perception. When speech decreases, observation increases. The silent individual notices details others miss. He notices changes in tone, expressions, behavior, and emotion. He sees contradictions between words and actions. He recognizes patterns invisible to those distracted by constant talking. Human beings reveal themselves continuously. The problem is not that information is hidden. The problem is that most people are too busy speaking to notice it. Intelligence transforms silence into a tool of perception. The eyes become sharper. The mind becomes clearer. Reality becomes more visible. What appears to others as quietness is often intense awareness. And perhaps the deepest reason intelligent people prefer silence is this. They understand that not every truth needs an audience. The modern world encourages exhibition. Every thought must be posted. Every feeling must be shared. Every experience must be displayed. But some truths lose their value when transformed into performance. Not every insight requires applause. Not every victory requires witnesses. Not every lesson requires announcement. The intelligent person discovers a profound freedom in privacy. He learns to think without broadcasting. He learns to achieve without boasting. He learns to understand without seeking recognition. In silence, he develops a relationship with himself that does not depend on public approval. And that relationship becomes a source of strength far greater than popularity. For popularity belongs to the crowd, and the crowd changes its preferences with the wind. Today it celebrates. Tomorrow it condemns. Today it praises. Tomorrow it forgets. Silence protects a person from becoming a prisoner of those changing opinions. The intelligent mind understands that true growth occurs away from the spotlight. A seed grows underground before anyone sees a tree. A diamond forms in darkness before anyone admires its brilliance. Likewise, character develops in silence, long before the world notices its strength. Therefore, intelligent people do not worship noise. They do not chase attention. They do not confuse visibility with value. They recognize a truth that many spend their entire lives missing. The loudest voice in the room is rarely the strongest mind. Real intelligence does not need constant advertisement. It does not demand attention. It does not beg for recognition. It watches. It reflects. It learns. And when it finally speaks, its words carry weight precisely because they emerge from silence. For silence is not the absence of intelligence. More often, it is the home from which intelligence speaks. Most people never realize how much energy they lose through unnecessary speech. Every argument, every attempt to convince the unwilling, every effort to explain oneself to those determined not to understand, these things consume a person's mental strength. The intelligent individual eventually notices this hidden cost. He begins to see that not every battle deserves participation, and not every misunderstanding requires correction. There is a peculiar temptation that follows every human being, the desire to be understood by everyone. It appears noble on the surface, but beneath it often hides vanity. Why must everyone agree? Why must every stranger approve? Why must every critic be converted into a supporter? The intelligent person gradually abandons this impossible mission. He understands that misunderstanding is not always a failure. Sometimes it is simply the natural consequence of difference. A person standing on a mountain sees farther than a person standing in a valley. The valley dweller may doubt what exists beyond his horizon, not because the mountain observer is wrong, but because their perspectives differ. Wisdom recognizes this limitation. Therefore, the intelligent individual saves his words for those capable of hearing them. This does not mean he becomes arrogant. On the contrary, it means he becomes selective. There is a difference between speaking because something is true and speaking because one desperately wants approval. The first comes from strength. The second comes from dependence. Silence frees a person from that dependence. Many intelligent people have learned through painful experience that excessive explanation often creates more confusion than understanding. The more they attempt to clarify themselves, the more they become trapped in endless discussions. Every answer produces another question. Every explanation demands another defense. Eventually, they recognize a simple reality. Some people seek truth, while others seek conflict. To the first group, conversation is valuable. To the second group, conversation is merely a battlefield. The intelligent person learns to distinguish between them. He does not waste hours trying to awaken someone committed to remaining asleep. He does not spend days arguing with those whose identities depend upon their beliefs. He does not sacrifice his peace merely to satisfy another person's stubbornness. Silence becomes a boundary. It says, without words, that one's energy is too valuable to be spent carelessly. This principle becomes even more important when examining human emotions. Strong emotions often create strong speech. Anger rushes toward words. Fear rushes toward words. Jealousy rushes toward words. Pride rushes toward words. In emotional moments, people reveal thoughts they later regret. They destroy relationships through a few reckless sentences. They damage opportunities through temporary impulses. They exchange long-term rewards for short-term satisfaction. The intelligent individual understands this danger. He knows that emotions are powerful servants, but terrible masters. Therefore, when anger arrives, he often chooses silence. When frustration appears, he often chooses silence. When pride demands expression, he often chooses silence. This pause creates distance between impulse and action. Within that distance, reason gains an opportunity to speak. A person who masters silence during emotional storms possesses a rare form of strength. Most people can remain calm when circumstances are easy. The true test appears when emotions become intense. Anyone can control speech when nothing is at stake. Control becomes meaningful only when words desperately want to escape. This is why silence should never be confused with passivity. In many cases, silence requires greater strength than speech. To shout is easy. To remain composed while others provoke you is difficult. To react immediately is easy. To wait, observe, and respond deliberately is difficult. To follow emotion is easy. To govern emotion is difficult. The intelligent person repeatedly chooses the difficult path because he understands its rewards. Over time, this discipline transforms the structure of the mind itself. Thoughts become clearer because they are not constantly scattered through conversation. Attention becomes sharper because it is not continuously divided. Judgment becomes stronger because observation replaces reaction. Many people mistake intelligence for the accumulation of information. They imagine that intelligence is measured by the number of books read, facts memorized, or degrees obtained. Yet information alone does not create wisdom. A library contains enormous amounts of information, but a library cannot think. Intelligence requires more than knowledge. It requires the ability to interpret, connect, question, and understand. Silence plays a critical role in this process. Knowledge enters the mind through study, but wisdom emerges through reflection. Refiche cannot flourish in constant noise. A person may spend years collecting information and remain shallow because he never creates the silence necessary to examine what he has learned. The intelligent individual understands that learning has two stages. First comes acquisition. Second comes digestion. Most people focus entirely on acquisition. They consume books, videos, opinions, articles, and conversations without pause. Their minds become crowded warehouses filled with unorganized material. The intelligent person values digestion equally. He withdraws from noise. He allows ideas to settle. He searches for relationships between concepts. He questions assumptions. He challenges conclusions. Through silence, information becomes understanding. Another overlooked reason intelligent people prefer silence is that they recognize the influence of social pressure. Human beings possess a powerful instinct to belong. This instinct shapes opinions more than most are willing to admit. Entire groups can believe obvious falsehoods simply because disagreement carries social consequences. The crowd rewards conformity and punishes independence. For this reason, many people speak not to express truth, but to signal loyalty. Their words function like membership cards. Every statement announces allegiance to a tribe, an ideology, a movement, or a group. The intelligent person notices this phenomenon and becomes cautious. He realizes that constant participation in collective noise can gradually corrupt independent thought. When thousands repeat the same opinion, it becomes difficult to evaluate that opinion objectively. Agreement creates psychological comfort. Disagreement creates psychological discomfort. Most people unconsciously choose comfort. Silence allows the intelligent individual to escape this pressure. By stepping back from endless discussions, he gains the ability to examine ideas without immediately accepting or rejecting them. He becomes less interested in whether an opinion is popular and more interested in whether it is true. This distinction separates independent thinkers from followers. Followers ask what others believe. Thinkers ask what reality reveals. Silence creates the conditions necessary for such investigation. There is also a loneliness associated with intelligence that few discuss openly. The more deeply a person examines life, the more he notices contradictions hidden beneath appearances. He sees motivations beneath actions. He sees fears beneath confidence. He sees uncertainty beneath certainty. This awareness can create distance between himself and others, not because he believes himself superior, but because many conversations remain trapped on the surface. People discuss events while ignoring causes. They discuss appearances while ignoring realities. They discuss outcomes while ignoring principles. The intelligent mind naturally seeks depth. When depth is unavailable, silence often becomes preferable to superficial participation. This preference is frequently misunderstood. Others may interpret quietness as arrogance, indifference, or social weakness. Yet the truth is often much simpler. The intelligent person is not avoiding conversation. He is searching for meaningful conversation. There is a vast difference. He does not reject words. He rejects emptiness disguised as words. When genuine curiosity appears, he becomes engaged. When authentic thought appears, he becomes attentive. When someone seeks understanding rather than validation, conversation becomes worthwhile. Until then, silence remains the better companion. This preference becomes even stronger with age. Youth often believes that every thought deserves expression. Every opinion feels urgent. Every disagreement feels important. Experience teaches different lessons. Experience reveals how many arguments lead nowhere. Experience reveals how many controversies disappear. Experience reveals how many people are fighting battles created entirely by ego. As understanding grows, speech often decreases, not because intelligence fades, but because intelligence matures. The young mind wishes to prove itself. The mature mind wishes to understand itself. The young mind seeks victory. The mature mind seeks clarity. The young mind fears silence. The mature mind appreciates its value. With each passing year, the intelligent individual discovers that silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is a form of inner order. It is a refusal to allow every external event access to one's mental world. Without this protection, life becomes chaotic. Every opinion demands attention. Every controversy demands reaction. Every distraction demands participation. The mind becomes fragmented. Silence restores unity. It allows a person to determine what deserves thought and what deserves dismissal. This ability may be one of the greatest advantages intelligence can provide. Because life itself is ultimately a question of attention. Whatever controls, attention controls experience. Whatever controls experience shapes destiny. The intelligent person understands this relationship and therefore guards attention carefully. He does not surrender it to every loud voice. He does not donate it to every passing trend. He does not waste it on every temporary outrage. Silence becomes the gatekeeper, standing between the mind and the chaos of the world. So the next time you find yourself in a room filled with noise, remember this: not everything that is loud is important, and not everything that is quiet is weak. The world will continue to reward attention seekers. It will continue to celebrate those who speak first, react fastest, and make the most noise. But history tells a different story. The minds that changed civilizations, challenged assumptions, and reshaped human understanding were rarely the loudest voices in the crowd. They were thinkers before they were speakers, observers before they were teachers, masters of themselves before they attempted to influence others. Silence is not the retreat of the powerless. It is often the weapon of the powerful. It is the shield that protects independent thought from the pressure of the crowd. It is the space where wisdom grows while others chase applause. It is the discipline that separates reaction from understanding and impulse from mastery. The intelligent person does not remain silent because he has nothing to say. He remains silent because he understands the value of words. He knows that speech gains power when it is rare, that insight gains weight when it emerges from reflection, and that truth does not become more true simply because it is repeated 1,000 times. In a society addicted to constant expression, choosing silence becomes an act of strength. In a world overflowing with opinions, choosing reflection becomes an act of courage. And in an age where everyone is trying to be heard, the greatest advantage may belong to the one who has learned how to listen. So do not fear silence. Enter it. Learn from it. Let it sharpen your mind, strengthen your character, and reveal the truths that noise has hidden from you for years. Because in the end, the loud may capture attention for a moment, but it is the silent mind, disciplined, observant, and deeply aware, that ultimately shapes its own destiny. And perhaps that is why the wisest people speak less, not because they have fewer thoughts, but because they have discovered that some of the greatest truths in life can only be heard when everything else becomes silent.